Am I the a-hole for asking my ex and daughter to share food with her other siblings? I have 4 children, 3 boys, 9, 7, 4 with my husband, and a daughter 15 with my ex-husband. I will not lie. My ex and I broke up because of my infidelity 10 years ago, and I was only granted Saturdays every other week for custody. I married my husband soon after. I do believe that my ex has been more than fair to me over the years, and he is one to avoid conflict, which is nice. However, my ex makes 7 figures each year, and I and my husband barely make it month to month. And I am still obligated to pay $150 a month in child support, which is a significant amount to us right now. My ex knew about this, and we worked out a system that he would cover our daughter financially still when she came to spend Saturdays with us. She would send her with money so she could cover her own way. She would bring her own snacks and drinks, so we did not have to feed her along with 3 growing boys. And he would get her breakfast before he dropped her off and dinner after I picked her up. This worked out for a while, but now my boys have grown to resent her. She refuses to share her name brand snacks with my boys, and they have noticed that she does not eat with us, bringing McDonald's with herself for breakfast, and many days orders Uber Eats for herself for lunch, while they eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Then she will also call her dad before she leaves, often asking to go to a steakhouse for dinner. My oldest boy lashed out at me 2 weeks ago, asking why his sister get better food than him, and others have also noticed, and have begun to demand that we also get them fast food and better snacks that we cannot afford. I decided to send my ex a text, telling him about the situation and asking if maybe it would be possible for him to start sending enough snacks for the boys as well, along with maybe having our daughter order them food as well for breakfast and lunch. His response was rudely out of character as he told me that I asked for this arrangement and that under no circumstance was he going to feed my brats. I was a bit floored but dropped it. Well, this Saturday was my day with our daughter. When she arrived, I decided to tell her that she can't bring her breakfast inside with her anymore, and that I want her to start sharing her snacks and ordering food for her brothers as well. Out of nowhere, she lost it. Told me that it's not her fault I cheated on her dad, that I already don't provide anything outside of the court-appointed parenting, and now I expect her to ruin the only thing that makes coming to my house bearable. She did this very publicly in front of my husband and boys as well, so I called my ex then and there and demanded he come back and pick her up. My husband is livid at me for even asking my ex this question, and says I'm doing this to get attention and throw my daughter under the bus. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. You are being accommodated in every conceivable way by someone you screwed over, and you're asking for even more? If you can't get your spawn under control, then don't make it anyone else's problem. I have come to terms with the fact that I made a mistake 10 years ago, as a younger and more narrow-sighted version of myself that caused irreversible damage to many people's lives. I only asked what I thought maybe he would be okay with. I want to find a solution that we all could be happy with at the end of the day. A solution you could all be happy with? That's definitely not what you wanted. There is no way you thought your ex would be happy buying food every week for kids that aren't even his, who were born to a woman who cheated on him. You don't care about him being happy. You wanted a solution that you and your younger kids could be happy with and screw everyone else. And clearly the daughter wasn't happy with that either. Hope he doesn't care about her daughter at all. You're the a-hole. That was an outrageous request. You've had more children than you can take care of. Your ex goes above and beyond because you can't afford to feed your daughter even when it's your turn to take care for her. And instead of being thankful, you resent your ex and lashed out at your daughter. That's just nasty. I don't resent my ex. I just wanted to make sure my sons didn't resent their sister for the difference in living situation. I just didn't know how to go about that. We genuinely have to count pennies some months with how things are. And 6 extra meals a month plus the other costs to support my daughter for those Saturdays could have been the tipping point. I am thankful my ex went along with this, but I just believe that with his money, he would not have even noticed the small extras he would provide to my boys. You're the a-hole. 6 extra meals a month? Are you serious? Those aren't extra. Those are meals for your daughter. Do you consider the meals for your sons to be extra? Do you even realize you have an obligation to take care of your daughter? Do you realize that she and your ex have absolutely no obligation to your new, non-extra family? Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking pictures of my son's clothes he wears to his dad's house? First, I'm not some super picky, spiteful ex who tries to make my ex's life difficult. We have a son, Mark, who is 9. He wears a size 10 or 12 in clothes and size 5 in shoes. Mark never comes back in clothes or shoes that size. Last several weekends, for example, Mark came back in clothes that were a size 6 or 7, where the shirts fit like a crop top and couldn't even button his pants, and they were way too short, and size 3 shoes that he had to scrunch his toes to even get on. I know Mark is uncomfortable and his feet hurt, because he tells me. I've asked my ex Joe about Mark's clothes and he always had some reason. Mark dressed himself. Mark insisted on wearing that. They're behind on laundry. He was in a rush and they didn't have time to get ready until the last minute. If Mark came home to me in clothes that actually fit, I wouldn't care. But they don't fit. Mark can't wear that stuff to school. It's in really shabby condition and clothes are not free. I don't get child support from Joe because neither of us can currently afford to go back to court. And Joe has made it clear without a child support order, I will never get a single penny from him. And if I ever do ask for support, he'd go as far as quitting his job to have no income so he doesn't have to pay. Unfortunately, our custody agreement does not affect child support, and that's a whole separate issue. I cannot legally keep Mark away from Joe. Anyway, I've started taking pictures of what Mark wears to his dad's and texting the picture to Joe with a reminder to please remember I need that back, as Mark is starting to run low on clothes and shoes that actually fit him correctly and are nice enough for school. Joe never responds to the texts, but has told me in person at exchanges that I'm a selfish and petty witch for not wanting Mark to have clothes and shoes at his house too. I've asked Joe to please buy clothes that fit Mark to keep at his place, but he's refused, saying it's not his responsibility or problem. Edited to add, for those saying keep going back to court, court is not cheap, and unless Joe is flat out mistreating Mark, the courts do not care to get involved as they view this as a petty squabble. For those saying get on government assistance, I do not qualify. I live by my own choice, in a higher cost of living area to put Mark in a better school, and be closer to his doctors and therapists. For those saying don't send Mark to Joe's, we have a legally binding custody agreement. I can't just withhold Mark. I am documenting everything though. For those saying send Mark to Joe in the clothes Joe gave him back to me in, per our custody order, Joe gets Mark from school every other Friday. I can't send Mark to school in those clothes as it would not be allowed. For those saying get help from legal aid, I'm currently on the wait list. They are still so backed up in my state from COVID. The current wait time is at least a year out. I do appreciate the heads up on how easy it should be to file for child support. I'd been told it was nearly impossible to get it without a lawyer. Not a-hole. The clothes that your son is wearing when he goes to his custodial time with his father is your property, and legally your ex is obligated to return those clothes with your child to you. But more importantly, failing to provide your child with properly fitting and adequate clothing is neglect. He is not living up to his most basic obligations as a parent. This is grounds for having the custody arrangement changed, and this man needs to have that made clear to him. He is mistreating your child. He is not responsible enough to have overnight visitation. I agree. Something else strange is going on there. As a mom, I would not want my kid walking around in too small/ill-fitting clothing, unless that was a style choice they were making. I wonder if the dad is selling the clothes, doing these, or otherwise checked out. Do they have people coming and going? This sounds like daytime visits only territory or even supervised visits. I know Joe is not on these. He is bipolar and has anger issues towards me, both of which he refuses to get treatment for, as real men aren't weak like that. Opie, you know that bipolar disorder can make some people very erratic, and a tendency toward anger is concerning. I would not leave my child with a mentally ill person resisting any sort of treatment. Just saying. I have a sibling with this, and I have never left my son alone with her due to her unpredictable nature. Unfortunately, I can't keep Mark away from Joe. Not legally, as I can't risk losing custody of Mark to Joe. And Joe's outbursts have mostly been geared towards me. The courts basically don't care unless Joe ends up putting Mark in the hospital. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my stepdaughter feel bad for eating all my snacks/drinks? My stepdaughter is 10. I'm 30 female and I have diabetes, as well as other food allergies that prevent me from eating a very large variety of foods that are purchased for consumption in this household. The foods/snacks/drinks that I can eat usually tend to be on the more expensive side, and I have to spend way too much time shopping around for bargains so I can actually eat. My stepdaughter is fully aware that these are the only things I can eat, and we had no problems, up until roughly 6 months ago. I have been in her life for 8 years, so yes, this is a new behavior. So my favorite food and drink is burritos and Diet Sprite. I can't have either of them due to my allergies, and it took me forever to find a brand that I could actually have. But due to the fact that both of these products are way too expensive, $19 for an 8-pack burrito and $12 for a 6-pack of the Sprite knockoff, I don't get them often at all. Maybe once every 3 months or so. I caught my stepdaughter eating and drinking both multiple times and had to sit her down and tell her that I didn't want her eating those, as they were expensive and for me specifically, and offered to buy her regular brand of the same items. She said yes, so I went out and bought them for her, just to find that she still was eating mine and not touching hers. I asked her why several times, and she shrugged her shoulders and walks off or says, "I don't see why it's a big deal. It's just food," and rolls her eyes. So I told my husband to do something about it because he knows my dietary restrictions very well and knows how important not only that is, but also how much I love those specific items and can't have them often. He speaks to her, everything after that seemed fine. However, I just bought burritos and knockoff organic Sprite again yesterday. I went to go get myself some around 10 p.m. when my stepdaughter was supposed to be in bed. The entire litter was gone. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I go into my stepdaughter's room and she's sitting with not only the Sprites in her lap, but 2 burritos as well. This is when I noticed everything else. My green tea sitting on the floor gone. My meal containers that I had packed for work under her bed and on her dresser, when I thought I was going mental because I couldn't find them anywhere. And turns out she has been eating them. I've gone many days at work without food because of this. So I told her I had never been so absolutely disappointed and repulsed that someone could lack that much respect and empathy for another individual and walked out. I woke my husband. He went down and saw everything but came up and started screaming at me because apparently I made his kid cry and now he is worried about her developing anxiety about eating. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but this is family therapy time, not AITA time. Something is up with a 10-year-old hoarding food, especially just your food. No need to put up with it, but sounds like you'll need a therapist to work with her. 100%. Something more is going on here and the internet can't parse it. Get her individual and family therapy. Buy a separate fridge. Lock it. Put your food in it. Talk to a therapist. Yeah, this isn't good. Not the a-hole at all. How dare your husband yell at you when you are being left with no food? You bought her her own snacks, and she is still eating yours. Time to get a refrigerator with a padlock on it for the garage. She seems to have targeted your food for whatever reason and is not going to stop with just talk. Not the a-hole. But why is your daughter acting differently now? Something at the school? Jealous of the attention her father is giving to you and not to her? I find it impossible to think that something would suddenly cause a change to occur. Still a little early and abrupt for puberty. I suppose I would inquire about your daughter's problems, possibly dating back to about 6 months ago, with her teachers at school, her friends, their parents, or really anyone. Dad should unquestionably take it seriously as well. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not going outside to see my husband's family when they show up unannounced? My 26 female husband 26 and I have been married for almost 2 years. His family are a very close-knit group, and although they are very kind and giving, it can also be overbearing in my opinion. I grew up very differently, and my family isn't near as close or overbearing. Well, his family likes to show up to our house unannounced. This usually happens about once a month, and it's usually on a Sunday. I personally find this very rude, to show up to someone's house whenever you want and not say anything to them. On Sundays, I don't usually get ready. The house is a wreck. I don't have a bra or makeup on. I don't fix my hair because it's my day to relax. So when they just show up, I have to fly through my butt to get dressed, put undergarments on, run a brush through my hair, etc. It's his dad, mom, and sister, and I don't want to look like crap in front of them. I'm also not that comfortable with them. Maybe it's because I grew up differently. Recently, I stopped doing that. I just don't even go outside to say hi anymore because I simply don't want to. I don't want to fly through my butt. I don't want to see them. I didn't know or ask them to come over, so I don't want to go out of my way to say hi for 20 seconds. This may make me an a-hole, but I feel like it's that hard to tell me you're coming over. Just give us a heads up so I can ready and put something on. The most recent time, they had set up a little gift on our front porch. I had to stay inside because, well, they showed up unannounced that I was taking a nap. My husband went outside to thank them, say hello, etc. His mom asked where I was, and when he told her I was napping and not dressed, she told him to tell me to get dressed and come outside because this gift was for me. So I did. I threw something on, got dressed, went outside and thanked them profusely, but I could tell his mom was upset with me. My husband thinks I'm being rude, but I think it's his family that is rude. It's rude to show up unannounced to someone's home whether you have a gift for them or not. All I'm asking for is a heads up that they are coming. I'm not ungrateful for the random gifts. I think they are nice and his family is very sweet. However, I didn't ask for any of that. I like my space. My husband says he doesn't know how to tell them that without sounding ungrateful, but I feel like they are crossing a boundary here. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She told him to tell me to get dressed and come outside. If she can find the audacity to say that rubbish, then she can pick up a bloody mobile and let you know that she's coming over. This is making me feel so much better. After they left, my husband and I had a small argument over how I was rude and that I should have just came out when he told me they were here. I don't like the idea of his family being upset with me. He wanted me to text his mom, thanking her again for the gift in order to mend her hurt feelings. Is he encouraging his mom to text you to apologize for showing up unannounced? That's rude, and you were not the a-hole. It's on your husband to set the very appropriate boundaries with his family that they let you know they'd like to come over. And make sure they understand that you may say, sorry, not a good time. In fact, I would argue that this is less setting boundaries and more an etiquette lesson for them. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdad that I'll eat whatever I want in this house because I'm paying for it in front of my stepsisters? I'm 20 male, currently living with my mom full-time since my dad is working out of the country. She has a husband and has 2 daughters from a previous marriage, 12 female and 14 female, and my half-sibling 6 male. My mom's husband is unemployed because he was abruptly terminated. Both of them do gigs here and there while he looks for a job, but they barely bring money to the house. I'm in my 2nd year of uni while working and getting money from my dad every month. I've been paying for most of my stuff. Clothes, hobbies, phone bill, etc. ever since I was 16, and when I turned 18, I began to pay rent and for my car. My mom's husband and his daughters are big eaters. I don't mind. I just started to buy my own groceries and they knew they weren't allowed to have any. Though I'd let my stepsisters take some of my snacks because I get their kids. But ever since 3 or 4 months ago, my mom has been asking me to buy this, buy that, buy this again. And I've been doing their groceries too. So I'm basically paying for all the food, plus rent, plus driving my stepsister to and from school and among other things. Yesterday we were having dinner together and I remembered I'd bought a watermelon a few days ago and it was almost all gone. But I could eat the last of it and it was okay. My stepsister said she wanted some too and I said there was barely anything left. And she could have an apple or something. She said she wanted watermelon and I said sorry. My mom's husband said kids go first, but I said kids have been eating watermelon for the past days and it was my turn. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Put it back, son. You can eat something else." So I just said, I'll be eating whatever I want because I was paying for it. Nobody said anything after that and I took it to my room. Later, my mom came and apologized for him, but said that I shouldn't have said anything in front of my sisters and was rude because I was being financially abusive with my family. So I don't know. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They are financially abusing you. Funny how good parasites are at projecting. If stepdad is so worried about what his kids eat, then he can get a job and provide them with food. What kind of man and woman is okay with being supported by a 20-year-old? If OP keeps this up, he will be doing it forever. Let them grow up. And I'm sure the stepkids already know, seeing as they never see their dad going to work. Not the a-hole. He was rude to you in front of everyone and you gave it right back. If you are paying for everything, you need to move out. I know, but at the same time, I'm worried about my stepsister and my baby brother. I don't want anything bad happening to them while I'm able to help. I just don't like being treated like a kid when I think I'm pulling my weight well enough. I get that, but consider that they might need you more in the future. You're an easy target right now, but well-adjusted people don't shove their weight around so much. Info. The money you have that you are using for bills and groceries that benefit you, mom, stepdad, and family, is the money your dad gives you or from a job? It sounds like your dad is financing his ex's family through you. Not the a-hole though. You aren't holding money over their head in a manipulative manner. You are being reasonable. A small part of it, yes. My dad is aware of this, and while he doesn't like it, he says it's my money and I get to do whatever I see fit. He gives me $150 less because he says that if I'm paying here, then he'll take some to put into a savings account, and I'm okay with it. Most of my paycheck go toward the house. Because I have a good job and I do a few art gigs here and there too that help a lot. I only take $80 to $120 from the money my dad gives me to cover X or Y thing. You and your dad are both too nice for your own good. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister move in with me after her selfish decisions? Me 18 male and my best friend 20 female have our own apartment with each other, and had my sister 21 female staying with us for a while until we could all find more stable living situations. This was all going good until my sister decided that she wanted to move out without telling us. This caused us to be short on rent and caused a lot of emotional stress. She had decided that she would stay with a friend since she did not want to pay rent. Me and my best friend decided now was the time to look for better, more stable living situations. My roommate decided to choose a studio apartment, and I decided to move in with some friends in a city. This is all going into effect soon. Last night, I got spammed with phone calls from my mom and grandmother, and once I finally answered, my mother had said, "You need to let your sister come back. She got kicked out of her friend's house." As I'm planning on moving out, I do not have the financial or emotional capabilities to have her back into my home. I responded with, "Absolutely not." Continuing through that 2.5-hour conversation, I explained that she needs to learn from her mistakes, as she was never punished as a child or shown what real-world consequences look like. I was not letting her back into my house. My mother continued to say, "Family comes first no matter what," and that is just the stupidest thing I have ever heard. People are people, and people are a-holes. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit. For a bit more context plus answering some questions from the comments. 1. Mom can't take her in due to her living across the country. 2. Sister has been babied and treated like the golden child my entire life. 3. Mom has called 5 times today trying to guilt trip me still. You're the a-hole to yourself though for getting suckered into a 2.5-hour conversation about it, when you only need to state the facts. When your sister moved out, you can no longer pay for your current place. You've had to make other living arrangements. There's no longer a room for your sister. The 2.5-hour conversation was mostly me getting screamed at and trying to explain my points but not getting a word in. Do not tell them your new address. Not the a-hole. 100% this. They sound like the kind of people that would literally have her just show up at your door in the middle of the night. Get a P.O. box if they need to mail you anything. Not the a-hole. If family comes first, what did mom say when your sister screwed you? And mommy's the one responsible for raising her own kids. Tell her to do her job. Well, sister is the golden child, so nothing. There you go, Opie. You owe them nothing. They haven't been family to you all this time, so you can happily not be family to them as well. You could lie and tell your mother that you were evicted because of your sister bailing on you, so you're already out of the apartment and couldn't host even if you wanted to. You could also mute your mother's phone calls for the time being. Yes, but then my sister is not learning from anything. By getting rejected into a home due to selfish/careless acts, you learn to stop making those acts and take responsibility for your actions. You want your mother and sister to know that you could take her in, but you won't because of how she treated you. You want your sister to be punished and you want her to know that you are the one punishing her. You're mad that she screwed you over. That's understandable, except I'm pointing out that people like your sister and mother won't get it. They're just going to harass you into taking her back in, which is why you need to cover your behind. Stop trying to get personal payback. Let your payback come from having a successful and fulfilling life on your own terms. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepfather that he had no right to share information on my pregnancy on social media? I'm currently expecting my first child. I don't live close to my mom or her family, so we have group chats going where I keep them updated on my pregnancy, since I'm not on Facebook/Twitter/Instagram. I had asked them not to share anything. Then my stepfather makes a post on Facebook announcing he's going to be a grandpa, that his baby girl is expecting, and shares not only the ultrasound photo, but also the name we have chosen for our baby. A friend of mine on Facebook told me about the post and shared a screenshot with me. I called him up and asked him what the hell he was thinking, and how dare he do it when we had explicitly stated not to. He told me he was sorry and that he had let excitement get to him. Then he told me I should be happy because baby's going to be loved and has their grandparents all present and excited for them. I saw red because my dad died several years ago. So no, my baby will not have all their grandparents in their life. They're missing the one who would probably have been the best. I told him he was being insensitive and I needed to end the call before I said something I would regret. The next day, he sent me a text apologizing again and saying we should be closer now than ever, and he feels like I am taking stuff out on him that is not his fault. A few hours after that, he called and told me I wouldn't have reacted as badly if Mom had shared. I told him I would still be mad, but he especially had no right to share, that he is not my father, that he did everything he could to make my dad's life hell before he died, and that I would always blame him for my dad's more sudden death. The background on that is my dad started suffering from a number of health complications about 2 months after my mom remarried. My stepfather tried to get Dad to surrender custody and just visit, but let him take over being the dad to me. Dad refused and continued being an active participant in my life. Stepfather tried continuing to take over the role. Then he told my dad he would adopt me once he was gone, so I would always have a dad. Dad was still alive and still able to do stuff with me. But here was this guy who already tried to get him out of the picture, telling him he would take his place. Dad didn't make it too long after that. He went down rapidly. My stepfather was never shy about the stuff he was saying, so I always knew. The adoption never happened. I spoke to the judge and said I would never want my stepfather to be my father. I never called him Dad, never loved him or said I love you to him. I have never hugged him. I have never ever celebrated or honored him on Father's Day. So when I told him that he especially had no right, and that I did blame him for how my dad died, he told me I was being unfair. He told me how cold it was, that he has been in my life for 22 years now and I should embrace him and give my child the gift of a loving grandparent. My mom then called after and told me it was mean to tell him he had no right as though he were a stranger. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and even without the added layer of him trying to replace your dad, when your dad was still present in your life, it would be a terrible thing to do. You don't announce somebody's pregnancy before they get to share their news, and you don't share details they trusted you with, but don't want shared. You would be absolutely right to be angry with anyone doing this. He wanted to steal Opie from her dad. That failed, so now he wants to steal grandkid from her dad. Personally, I'd go on a rampage, clarifying that the guy is her mom's husband and is not a grandparent nor will ever be a grandparent, unless kid chooses at 18. And I would say why. That he doesn't care about Opie or the kid. He just wants to hurt the deceased dad. The mom deserves blasting for enabling this behavior. And mom needs to be put on info diet and only told things when/if they go public. But that's me. I'm overly protective of people I care about. And doesn't matter if they're deceased. Trying to use children for sick ownership games? Oh hell no. Opie isn't an a-hole. If anything, Opie's being probably too relaxed about things. Not the a-hole. It wouldn't matter if he was your birth parent. He still violated your trust by posting. As it is, this is just a continuation of him placing his own wants above you. He didn't care that you loved your dad. He didn't care that he hurt you by hurting your dad. He didn't care that you didn't want to be adopted. And now he doesn't care what you want for your own child either. It seems like he cares more about you and your child being a prop in his life to make him seem like such a great stepdad/grandpa than he actually cares about you and your feelings. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not being interested in my friend's children's development and not lending money? I have been invited to my friend's house last night for dinner after we haven't seen us for almost a year. Their children are 7 and 13, and the 13-year-old daughter is from his previous relationship. The mother is out of the picture. They don't know where she is, and they haven't seen her since the breakup. He remarried, and they have had a son now, 7. It has been a rough 2 years for these friends of mine. They have been on and off jobs, needed to change apartment, and downgraded quite a bit. I have been helping out already with single payments for utility, insurance, and the odd small medical emergency they had. Their daughter has had a dream to attend a certain school, and there is a yearly fee to pay. This is not the US, so it's only a couple of $1,000 a year, which is a lot anyway. I know she wants to go there, and have encouraged her to do the scholarship route as they are eligible and just need to fill out some forms. At least they'll get a huge discount, if not an entire scholarship. She has started at that school, but the parents haven't paid the fees yet, and because of their own shortcoming, haven't filed any papers. They're working a lot of hours, but it is possible. Or at least send a babysitter or even me to the school to give the papers, but they didn't. Now, yesterday, they painted this picture of sadness and being the victim of the world, and I didn't buy it. The daughter started to cry and they told me I am hindering her development, and it would just be borrowed money until next year. I kind of feel I won't get that money back ever, and it also feels like they use me as their backup option. It really does feel like they slack off on purpose. I very openly told them that I do not care and that this doesn't fall into my responsibility. He then added that I easily could pay for it, and I agreed, but I still won't. I was very frank during that discussion, and it seems my honesty was a bit too much for them. We have been friends since childhood, but these fees aren't news, and they had a lot of time to prepare for it, save up, or even ask earlier. During the very quiet last glass of wine, I contemplated and offered a monthly payback plan, starting January next year, just to see their reaction, to be honest. I think it is a fair option. It'll solve the issue for now, and they can decide how much to pay me back each month. They told me they'd think about it, and I received a message today that I am an a-hole for putting them in a situation of even greater debt, and that I am playing with them knowing their situation, putting even more pressure on them. I called up the school to inquire, and they also offer various plans to pay, so it very much seems my friends simply wanted me to pay the school. Anyway, I'm curious to know if I am the a-hole. Not the a-hole, and you need to cut these people out of your life. You do not owe anything to anyone. Guilt-tripping people is a highly manipulative strategy. They're going to continue to use you for your money. This, OP, they're guilting and using you to get what they want. I'd respond back, because it seems that the help I'm giving currently isn't appreciated, and that you'll always want more. I'll no longer be covering your other bills starting next month. Please do not reach out to me to get more money from me or to try and guilt me. I will simply block you. I will also tell you that you don't respect my boundaries, have never appreciated me helping you with your bills, and only value me for my money. This was intentional. They always planned on guilting OP into paying for an unnecessary and expensive school. And using their daughter into manipulation is despicable. These people aren't your friends. A potentially better school for the daughter is a worthy goal. But before they ever seek help from others, they need to first help themselves. Not bothering to even apply for a scholarship/aid is simply inexcusable. Not the a-hole. Your friends are using you as a slush fund. If they can't afford to send their daughter to this school even with scholarships, they should have been upfront with her about that. Now they're going to make you be the bad guy, since you're refusing to pay, and rightfully so. Regardless of how long you've been friends, you need to cut the financial ties ASAP. Stop bailing them out and see how long your friendship lasts. It doesn't matter that you have more money than they do. You made different choices. It doesn't make sense to finance their life even when you can, because there may come a day when you're financially maxed out, and I don't see them having an issue with cutting you off when you're of no use to them. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother that it was her decision to have kids? I, 28 female, have never had a good relationship with my mother. She and my dad married young and had 4 kids. Me, 2 sisters, 27 female and 24 female, and my brother, 20. My parents' marriage was highly toxic, and they divorced when I was 17 because my mother had an affair with her now second husband. Mother and hubby number 2 have 1 child together, female 10. Ever since we were kids, my siblings and I have been subjected to my mother's mantra of, "I gave you life, so you should be freaking grateful." From the time we were young, my mother would use the above phrase to gain anything. From our sweets, our birthday money, to taking a percentage of payslips when we joined 6th form, ages 16 to 18 education in the UK. My siblings and I have been fortunate enough that our paternal grandparents are well off, and they paid for our university fees, minus my brother who chose not to attend university. However, our grandparents are in declining health and have decided to give us grandchildren our inheritance early so they can watch us enjoy it, and not have this trust to put on my dad to sort out our portion when their time comes. My brother decided to buy a car with his and save the rest to travel. My 2 sisters are spending it on their growing families, while I decided to use my portion for a mortgage deposit, and I'm weeks away from buying my first home. My mother is enraged at our choices. When she found out that her ex-in-laws had given us all money, she yelled at how it was unfair that our younger half-sister missed out, and how we have a rule that she gets a percentage of our inheritance, because I gave them life and they need to learn to be freaking grateful. And then extended it saying how we never appreciated her sacrifices for us. How we butchered her body, drained her mental state, and caused her divorce because our dad was too focused on us rather than paying attention to her, which caused her to cheat. I snapped at my mother and told her to shut the heck up. I told her that we didn't ask for her to bring us into this world because she chose to have kids. And if I had a chance to change who my biological mother was, I would, because she's always been a crappy one. Now she's telling the family that I don't appreciate her struggles with parenting, and I've upset her so badly that she's unable to focus on areas of her life that need her. For example, my half-sister, her job as a nurse, etc. My sibling sided with me, but our half-sister has sent me texts saying I need to say sorry for being mean. My stepdad, not a word I want to use, has called me an a-hole for speaking to my mother harshly. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom is toxic, and she likely royally ruined her youngest daughter by making her believe she's a victim of your grandparents' generosity. Right? Your mom told your 10-year-old half-sister a skewed version of what happened and stirred up drama. Your mom may have even sent the text from your sister calling you mean. She is a monster, not a a-hole. I don't understand her mentality. You children must give me all your money because I choose to have you? And a bit about a half-sister makes even less sense. My daughter missed out on money from people she has no biological or familial relation with. Mom's a narcissist. Everything's always about her and only her. Normal person logic is just irrelevant here. Your mom's affair partner needs to sit down and shut up. Your half-sister is not related to your grandparents. She deserves nothing. Your mother is way off base here. Your mom cheated on their son. Your paternal grandparents are probably not her biggest fans. Your mom can go pound sand, not stay home. Opie's mom needs to keep both her mouth and legs shut. She decided to give birth. She decided to cheat. Nobody owes their parents for giving them life. We are usually grateful for what they do for us during our lives, and she obviously has not done much. You owe her nothing, Opie. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You're absolutely correct. She gave life to you. That's correct. But that doesn't mean you are her slaves. She failed you as a parent. Didn't provide for you. Didn't show you any love or support. She's a vampire. Get some garlic and keep her away from your life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents why I hate my name? Okay, so basically I, female 16, have 3 older siblings. John, Julia, and Jess. John and Julia are twins and Jess was about 3 years younger than them. Jess had a lot of medical issues as a kid according to my parents. She was born too early and had a lot of breathing issues, etc. And 2 months before I was born, when Jess was 4 and the twins were 7, Jess died. I was never told exactly how, but I knew it had something to do with her medical issues. My parents were distraught and when I was born I was named Jess, after my older deceased sister. See, the issue was that being directly named after the dad-daughter starts up problems. My older siblings refuse to call me by my name. They call me by my middle name or just don't refer to me at all. And as a kid, I always wanted to be friends with them. But they're a good 7 years older and have apparently already bonded enough with the original Jess that they don't really want to interact with me. My parents are even weirder. They put photos of original Jess on my birthday and look like they're about to cry whenever they say my name. They constantly bring up Jess. If I get a bad grade, they'll go on about how Jess would have done so much better. Or if I said I was feeling sick, they told me that I couldn't be as sick as Jess was and to stop faking it for attention. Don't even get me started on my parents' friends because they just keep giving me weird looks. I can't live out the shadow of original Jess, which sounds horrible but honestly it's true. A few days ago, my mom got a letter from my old school where they used the nickname Anna, my middle name, and my mother blew up on me. She called me ungrateful and said I was ruining my sister's image and good name and destroying her soul or something. And I blew up on her too, explaining why I hated using the name Jess and how it was stupid naming me that, and how I can't keep living in the shadow of a kid who died nearly 17 years ago. Harsh, I know, but I was so angry. My mom, dad, family, friends, and even my own friends are telling me that I'm the a-hole here, that I shouldn't have gone off on her, but my siblings are saying that I said what needed to be said. And to be honest, I like having their approval. So am I the a-hole for telling my mom why I hate my name? Edit. Reading the comments, I do have to note that I love my parents. They've been great parents except for the name thing. I don't really want to go no contact because they really are great parents. Like them moving across the country for me because I found a performing arts school. But honestly, I understand my siblings as kids not wanting anything to do with me. If I was in their position, I wouldn't want to either. And also, all the names are fake. My name isn't actually Jess, but I do appreciate all the J-name jokes. Not the a-hole. Not even a little bit. Honestly, I think it's super twisted that they named you after her. They robbed you of your own identity because they hadn't processed their grief. My thoughts exactly. The parents are awful for doing that. Right, Opie's definitely not the a-hole. In fact, this whole story reads like the beginning of good creepypasta or no sleep. I hope that they can find some peace and that Opie continues to use her own unique middle name. Also, good on her siblings for standing behind her on this issue. Not the a-hole. Why would anyone name their youngest kid after older late sibling? And what image does your late sister have? She died at 4. Your parents are projecting unhealthily and robbing you of your own identity. As a mother who has lost a child, I can understand using the child's name as a middle name for a new baby, the way we honor other relatives, including those who have died. A first name? No one should have expected Opie to go by that name. Next story. Am I the a-hole for cutting off support to my daughter? I, 52 male, have 3 children with my ex Tracy, 50 female, Michael, 28 male, Linda, 25 female, and Victoria, 23 female. We split because Tracy had an affair with Stan, 55 male, to whom she is now married. We never shared with the kids the reason for the divorce as I didn't want them to blame either of us. This backfired, as the kids saw their mom move out of the house into a small apartment and me keep living in the house and remarried 2 years after the divorce. So they saw me as the bad guy. Stan and Tracy let them pretty much do whatever they wanted. And I had to be the disciplinarian who made sure homework was done, appointments were made, and deadlines were met. My 2 oldest eventually came to realize that I was not a bad guy. My son, when he found out that his mother had put nothing away for college for him as outlined in our divorce decree, and she told him to take out loans. While my daughter, when she realized that her grades were going to keep her out of her desired program in school. My youngest never came around though, so it was a surprise when her boyfriend asked for my blessing to ask for her hand. When I expressed that I didn't think she'd care about my blessing, he said she insisted on it. She began spending time with me, being polite to my wife, and it felt wonderful to have my daughter back. I went with them to book the venue and they'll be getting married next summer. I paid a deposit and a first installment. Then I noticed that she was becoming less communicative again recently, ignoring my texts or giving one-word replies and not coming over as much. On Monday, my son sent me a post from Instagram. My youngest had an engagement party this weekend to which I was not invited. One of the photos was her with Stan and it read, "Anyone can be a father, but it takes a real man to be a dad." This amazing guy has been my dad for 15 years, even though he didn't have to be. I am so blessed to have him walk me down the aisle next year. #daddy's girl, #future Mrs. X. My kids wanted for nothing their entire lives because I never let them go without. Even when they wouldn't talk to me, I made sure their needs were met. I texted Tracy to ask why I was not included, and she replied that Victoria didn't want my wife there because she wanted a drama-free day. My wife has literally never started drama in her life. I asked if Stan and I would both be walking her down the aisle. Tracy didn't respond, but Victoria called me up demanding to know what my problem was. I repeated my question, and she replied that no, Stan, her dad, would be walking her down the aisle. I told her that if that's what she wanted, I would be fine with it. I told her to let Stan know the next payment for the wedding is due in November. Stan and Tracy do not have the money for this wedding, and I think I'm being an a-hole. Linda says if I do this, Victoria will never speak to me again. Michael is on my side. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If you aren't her dad in her eyes, then why would you pay for the wedding? And here is a novel idea. The bride and groom can pay for the wedding instead of the parents. I'm recently engaged and wouldn't dream of asking my parents for help paying for the wedding. Yeah, I was married last year and we had a wedding we could afford. I don't know why my parents would need to pay for my event. Not the a-hole. Maybe it's time you told your kids the real reason behind a divorce. Right? They're grown now. Time to rip off the band-aid. And to hell Stan/mom. What a sack of moldy douches they make. Not the a-hole. This. Don't hide things from your kids when you divorce. As a kid whose parents did this, it leads to nothing but badness. Be honest with them. But also, as others have said, she absolutely used you for the money, which is frankly disgusting. Get your deposit money back and let them pay for it themselves. I don't understand why it seems so many parents don't tell their children the reasons why. I left my ex when my daughter was 3. He's an alcoholic. It was very easy to say, "Daddy is sick and was not nice to mommy, but we still love you very much." She still knows the reason. She still loves both of us. You don't have to alienate a parent to be honest with your children. Full disclosure, I'm not Michael, but I'm on your side too, OP. The truth about your divorce was ugly and unflattering to Tracy, so you apparently agreed to hide it forever. Opie, not just till the kids were grown, but forever. That decision has bitten you in the butt and cost you your relationship with at least one of your adult kids. Please, sit down with Linda and Michael and tell them the truth about the divorce. Show them the bratty IG posting from Victoria and say, "You know, I love all of you, but everyone has limits. I feel used and disrespected and I'm not going to put up with it anymore. If Victoria wants to talk to me about this directly, fine, but I'm not willing to bankroll an event where I'm cast as an unwelcome stranger. Not the a-hole for keeping your money in your wallet and finding something else to do on the wedding day." Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my parents why my wedding gift was significantly smaller than my sister's? My husband and I, 28 male, 28 female, got married recently, and my sister, 31 female, and I were discussing the wedding after returning from the honeymoon. We are very fortunate to have grown up in a household where my parents made very good money. They were generous with us, but raised my sister and I to be hardworking and not dependent on them as adults. My sister and I both do well financially, as does her husband, 36 male. My husband loves his job, but it is not one that has a ton of earning potential. He and I met in college, so I've always known this was his plan, and we are very happy with our setup. During my discussion with my sister, she asked me if my husband and I were planning to use the wedding gift money from my parents to do a particular renovation for which we've been saving, but I was very confused, because the gift, while extremely generous and appreciated, wasn't nearly enough to cover that. She told me how much she had been gifted, and it was more than twice what we had been given. After that, I couldn't stop thinking about why I had gotten less, so my sister encouraged me to ask, and during a call with my mom, I couldn't stop myself from asking. Her response was that it wasn't my business, but since I did ask, my sister has chosen a partner that can accommodate the lifestyle she's used to, so they've gifted her accordingly. They also gifted me accordingly to the lifestyle I've chosen. We are not entitled to gifts of any size in life, but I still can't help feeling hurt that my parents feel that my husband and I are less deserving than my sister and her husband based on income. Meanwhile, my parents are angry at both my sister and me for having this discussion and bringing it to them. Not the whole. There's a lot of reasons that would have made sense and been okay, including a simple, "We're not in the same financial situation we were in when we gave your sister her wedding gift." But to make it about how much you guys make is basically a passive-aggressive way of saying, "You got less because you picked a partner we feel is beneath you." Amen. Wait for the shocked Pikachu face when Opie goes no contact and then have kids. It will be cruel to not let Grammy and Grampy see their cheer-ups. Not the a-hole, and I don't understand your parents' reasoning. Seems like they just want to punish you for choosing a spouse that makes less money than they would have preferred. Honestly, if your sister's husband is so well off, why would you need additional money as a gift? That was my first thought and response. I've seen this firsthand in my extended family. Some members are very well off, and for some reason, money attracts money. If you are rich, people seem to give money to you since you are seen as good with money and more deserving, and those that don't do as well seem to be given far less. It's bizarre, but in some ways it makes sense, since those who are good with money will likely grow it, and those who aren't are more likely to blow through it more quickly. That said, it should be considered those who have plenty of money don't need more gifted to them, and those who are struggling should be given a little help from time to time, unless they are wasting it on drugs or gambling, etc. What weird logic. Your brother-in-law makes more so we gift them more? Your husband makes less so we gift you less? Sounds backwards. Also sounds like they're punishing you for choosing who you married. That was my thought. My family makes less money than my sisters. My parents are always giving me things they aren't giving her. We also have kids and they don't. But my sister nor her husband couldn't care less who gets what.